Okay, a big hello to everybody watching. It's me, Shotty4HF, and this is a continuation of the video I did on a plugin called RandArp. Or is it? Because I've had some brilliant feedback in the comments, and I have been learning, which is something that I love to do when it comes to music production, and I am learning all the time. And the first thing I need to share is that somebody pointed out that this may actually be called RandArp, not RandArp as I was initially calling it. Big thanks for pointing this out, and of course this name really does make sense because of this plugin's randomized features and functionality, and I will come to that in a minute. Because in the first video I went over the basics of setting it up and getting it working, but I didn't really delve into any of the other features, which kind of really separates this from other VSTs and MIDI inserts in its class. And the other crucial, ultimately important feedback that I had is that it is pronounced arpeggio with a soft G, not arpeggio as I was calling it. But a big thanks for pointing that out, and I stand corrected. It is now imprinted on my brain and I will not be making that mistake again. You know, had it not been for the comments, I might still be getting that wrong, so please keep the comments coming on these videos. They are gratefully received. So with all of that addressed, I would just like to cover a couple of other things with this plugin that I didn't look at in the first video. If you haven't seen the first video, I will leave a link in the description. It will also pop up on the screen towards the end of this video. So firstly, the randomized functionality of this plugin, and then I'm going to look at how to record this out as MIDI notes. But the randomized section, I guess how they are labeled kind of speaks for itself. But basically, whatever the setting is above, like octaves and velocity, it can be randomized so that it will change as the arpeggio is played through. And the amount that it changes depends on how much you turn up the random parameter, if you like. And this can kind of humanize it in a way, especially when triggering a piano or something like that, but it can definitely make each arpeggio unique and really gives like an interesting twist to the melodies that are created. Now, velocity, kind of straightforward. It relates to how hard the note is pressed in a way, but this affects the volume of each note. So to randomize this would mean that notes are played back at varying volume. And now the gate is kind of like the note on off. You know, it's how much of the note is let through. But a simpler way of explaining this might simply be note length. So the length of the note, which sounds like this when you change it. So of course, randomizing this would mean notes played back at varying lengths, which again is interesting for an arpeggiator. And then shift, it might be difficult to figure out what this is doing at first, but this is actually shifting the notes off grid, either plus or minus, sort of forward and back. So yeah, of course, again, randomizing this is definitely going to have that kind of humanizing effect, if I can call it that, because it means that it will be played more loosely and, so, you know, like a real person playing rather than something just putting out MIDI notes on the grid. And swing, which I did mention in the first video, gives it that offbeat timing, that swing timing, which as far as I understand it is when the beat to the bar timing is shifted into a swing type rhythm. And, you know, of course, you have the same random feature under that as well. Then you have the initial fixed velocity, which is handy if you have an instrument that has different tonal qualities at different velocities. You know, and those pianos that can sound very different at different velocities, like when you want that soft piano sound instead of hitting the keys hard. So that's what that is for. And transpose obviously is tuning, and the rest option here adds a rest after each arpeggio is played, and you can adjust how long the rest is. So this interrupts the pattern, you know, the arpeggio between each one. So it sort of stops before it plays the other. And restart, I assume and have gathered that this means the arpeggio will restart from the beginning when a new note is played or another MIDI note triggers it. And latch means it will hang on to the last notes played, meaning it won't stop when you let go of the keys or when the MIDI notes end. And so that's pretty much all of that. And note probability. that means that some notes will be missed as it plays back, and 100% means 100% of the notes will be played, and this will miss certain notes at random depending on where it's set. So it's kind of all self-explanatory, I guess, but I just thought I'd go into these in a little bit more detail and just sort of run through them. And another comment that I had, does it crash when you have lots of instances? Now, I haven't come across that with my version of Cubase. I haven't come across any issues at all. But one thing I wanted to show you, you may figure this out for yourself, and that is if you hit record with this plugin set up correctly, it will record the arpeggio as MIDI notes. So just like this. So you can then copy those MIDI notes onto another instrument. You could close down RandArp and create MIDI all over your project without having lots of instances of RandArp. I'm actually having a difficult time calling it that now because I've been calling it RandArp for so long. But yeah, you can obviously put all this MIDI onto the different instruments so you don't have to have RandArp running at the same time, which is just perfect. And that is pretty much all I wanted to cover in this second part of this video. And again, big thanks for all the comments and for putting me right on a couple of things. It's massively appreciated. And all I'm going to do now is leave you with this MIDI I created by doing exactly what I've mentioned in this video with the random functions and recording it out. And I'm using the Grandeur piano from Native Instruments. But these were my settings in RandArp, which are on the screen now. I did extend some of the lower sort of root notes and added some strings underneath, but I'm just going to let that play out. And, as always, if you like this video, give it a like, and I look forward to all the feedback in the comments. If you've figured anything out for yourself with this plugin, let me know. I'd love to hear it. And please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. That's it. Take it easy. Big thanks, and keep creating.